think the biggest things that come to mind when thinking about water for the future, not only for the town, but for the region, is regionalism. For many years now, our municipalities, districts, our ditch companies have been focused on working as individuals. And as our communities continue to grow and Northern Colorado continues to grow, I think we need to see more projects that put these communities working together so we're not pinned against each other. A lot of times we as municipalities are trying to get the same waters as each other, and often we're fighting for those waters in our area.
I think historically in Colorado, it's kind of been an us versus them, right? People have just gone and acquired water, and it's kind of every man for himself, as it were. But with environmental change, I think with the regulatory environment and just more population growth, we're seeing that old model won't work anymore. And the only way we're going to really be able to get what we really want, which is a reliable water supply that's clean and affordable, is going to be with partnerships and collaboration. When I look at Windsor and our population in 2020, and we were right around like 35,000 people, I look and see that Fort Collins and Greeley were about there in about 1970. So we're about 50 years behind kind of the big brothers in the area. And so just as we grow and we try to kind of scale to this environment and we try to provide a safe, reliable, affordable water for our constituents, again, I just kind of go back to that collaborative environment and knowing that we're not going to be that successful if we're going alone.
You know, when I look at the future of water, I think there's really two things that concern me. I really hope that in the future we continue to think about the use of water as the use of water for all. I think in the past we've really done a good job of making sure that asset is there for the ag community, the private sector, the environmental community. I really hope that we continue to look at that for all. And then the second thing that concerns me is the cost escalation we've seen over these last couple of years here. We struggle as a region with housing affordability, and one of the big drivers is the cost of water. So I hope we can continue to find ways to moderate that cost so more people can afford housing in the region.
From the perspective of CPRW and some of the issues that we've faced in the last decade has really been tied to issues with severe wildfire and floods and droughts. But we've really been focused on recovering from severe wildfire really over the last decade. First the 2012 High Park fire, and then the 2020 Cameron Peak fire, which was Colorado's largest wildfire. And that has caused a majority of different issues for our water quality, water availability, and just our communities in general, and life and safety. So future disasters like that are always of concern, and so that's really why CPRW's mission and our work is focused on increasing the resilience of the watershed for the future.
You know, on the recreational side, we have flows that we have to maintain to keep the guests floating down the river. For me, it's how many user days I have each day taking people down the river, or it's the length of time we're on the river. Is there a dam we could take out that could make the length longer, better? There's all sorts of things we can do to make the recreational aspect even more spectacular than it is right now. And then there's the business side, where we have a location where we want to run a business, but it can be hard with water and development rights and water rights. And so it all kind of coalesces together.
The thing I contemplate the most is the preservation of agriculture in this region, and the water rights that those farms have always maintained. And can we keep those water rights whole and prevent them from being injured while sustaining the growth that these cities and towns demand?
Having security in our water, knowing that the ditches are going to flow, and knowing that the river is going to flow is super important to me. Not just for our farm, but for all the species and ecosystems that live off of that river. So maintaining it as wild as possible as well, I think, is really important to me. Like, we can pull water from it, but I want to make sure that that river still has its lifeblood pumping through its system, and maintain the virility of our ecosystems here.
Climate change, it's pretty inescapable, combined with a lot of other pressures on the resource. The many risks that come with this changing climate, that means wildfires, and we know that we'll have more of these events in the future. So how do we get ready for these kinds of occurrences? How do we prepare? Are we going to help our forests and watersheds be more resilient? You know, more people coming to our state and wanting to live in this beautiful place. How do we learn as a society to do more with less and be efficient with the resource that is there